This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi.
Here's a new one for you. 13-year-old kid facing murder charges after allegedly using a stolen car as a weapon, swerving off the road to intentionally hit a cyclist. 13-year-old. If that's not disturbing enough, he wasn't alone on this. Two other boys in the vehicle, one of them just 11 years old, were reportedly in the car with him, cheering him on like it was some kind of twisted video game. Oh, and the 11-year-old? He was apparently waving a gun around because why not?
Of course.
These are like the boys that are my daughter's age. That, like, I see kids like this all the time. And I have a really hard time picturing this happening. But I believe it did, in some places of the country, in some neighborhoods where parents don't seem to exist. Here's the scene. It's 4:40 a.m. on May 29th of 2022 in Albuquerque. The victim, Scott Dwight Habermehl, 63-year-old physicist at Sandia National Laboratory, who was just trying to start his day the way he always did, riding his bike to work. The guy wasn't just doing a casual weekend glide around. We're talking about a 25-mile daily commute on two wheels. It's what he did. He preferred biking over sitting in traffic, which I can understand. It's a pretty solid choice, too. It's healthy. Until three kids with zero regard for human life decide to turn it into Grand Theft Auto in reality. Investigators say the 13-year-old driver, Johnathan Overbay, veered off the road and slammed into Habermehl on purpose, killing him instantly before speeding away. And here's where things go to tragic to absolutely sickening. A video of the whole thing was later found on social media, because of course it was. In the clip, which police later got their hands on, a 15-year-old passenger identified as William Garcia can allegedly be heard egging the driver on, saying, "Just bump him, bruh. Just bump him, bruh." I think there should be actually a law against saying the word bruh. Like, that should convict you of a crime immediately. If you choose to use that in a sentence. Like, lack of judgment. Going away for 5 years if you use that word. Meanwhile, the 11-year-old in the front seat, whose name isn't officially released, but local media identified him as Messiah Hayes, was waving around a handgun and laughing like he was some kind of joke. 11-year-old. And then Overbay hits the gas and ran into Habermehl. At first, police didn't know who was responsible for the hit and run. It seemed just like another tragic unsolved case until the anonymous tip pointed them right at the video. And it turns out these kids had already been under investigation for a separate crime. Yeah. And when investigators got a hold of their phones, evidence. That's when things started unraveling. The arrests and what we know about this is even more disturbing. So far, Overbay has been arrested and is facing a grocery list of charges, including murder, conspiracy to commit murder, leaving the scene of an accident involving death, unlawful possession of a handgun, because let's not forget he's 13, and for Garcia, a 15-year-old who encouraged the whole thing. He's still on the run. Nobody knows where he is, but then he's facing the same charges. And the 11-year-old, well, he's too young to be charged with murder under New Mexico law, but authorities are looking into other charges since he apparently has a rap sheet longer than some career criminals, and he's 11, including alleged shootings and burglaries. Yes, he's 11.
11.
So what point do you go?
Your daughter is 12.
At what point do you go, where's mom and dad? And if you don't find them, why are these children not in some sort of protective care where they can't get out? And I mean, he already has a rap sheet and he's 11.
That's my biggest question about this. Well, my second biggest question. My biggest question is, why the hell would these kids think this is like, oh, just hit him? Like, why would that ever pop into anybody's brain? I don't get that. That's my biggest question. But my second biggest question is, where are the parents? These are kids. Stolen car?
I'm going to guess strung out on something. That would be my main guess. Dead. I don't know, doing something illegal, because kids like this don't just come out like in a vacuum. It's years of horrible environments or a lack of any sort of stable environment that creates this sort of.
That's all. Yeah. Because I mean, I'm not a parent. You are. Being a parent's tough work.
Yeah.
And especially when they hit that age. It can be really hard.
You're instantly wrong on everything for the next. Yeah.
You don't know anything as a parent. As an adult, you don't know anything.
Like, it's a nice day out, honey. It's like warm. I don't think it is. I don't think it's like, it's sunny. It's 70. Well, that's your opinion.
Exactly. No, it's proof. Look.
It's actually a fact, but I mean, if you don't like sunny and 70, you're welcome to that. You can say that you don't enjoy it. That's fine, but you can't argue that it's sunny and 70. That is what it is.
So,
Whatever.
I mean, to me, an 11-year-old to be out at this time of night, doing what he's doing, and he has a rap sheet already. You know, I don't know if he'd been charged with other things or wanted in connection with other things.
That's where you find the parents and dispose of them.
It almost makes me think, you know, we've talked about other cases before where the parents have been charged. I don't know. I think you got to look at the parents in this case.
Yeah, you do. You know, we see so many cases where there's like police cover-ups of like murders, and it's like decent people that have been killed, and they're trying to cover up whatever. How about, I mean, if somebody took out these parents, cover it up all you want. No one's gonna fucking care. Like, go on, I'll give you I don't care. Get rid of them and don't tell anybody, because they're just going to reproduce more and create more of these little mutant monsters that are going to roam the world and cause havoc and ruin lives. And I'm sorry, these kids are screwed. At this point, this is what you're doing, and you've already destroyed your life this much. There's not hope for you. I don't see much hope for any of these children.
But don't you also think that, you know, with the cases where parents have been charged when the children had access to a firearm?
Yeah,
when it
should be like that here in this one too.
Why were these kids, and whose car was this? How did they end up in the middle of the night out running around? And I get kids sneak out. Trust me, we've all done it. I did it. Mm-hmm. And you can't control a kid 24/7 necessarily. If they want to get out in the middle of the night, you could be sound asleep and not know. But, you know, these days there's alarms for windows, there's video cameras, there's motion sensor things. When I was a kid, there was none of that shit.
There's ways of monitoring, without a doubt. Exactly. And anybody's like, well, everybody has an excuse of why they can't do something. It's time to put our grown-up pants on now and realize that we can't just make excuses for everything that may take a little work or is a little bit inconvenient. Yes, you can put sensors on your doors. Well, that costs money. You're right, it does. So maybe you should do something productive enough in your life so you can buy some of those sensors instead of letting your children run the streets with guns and stealing cars and running people over. What's going on?
Where did this gun come from? That's another question.
Yeah.
Where did they get the gun?
Yeah, that and your decision pattern in life, and you're going to complain about, clearly is not that great. So let's improve that. And then how about you get some of those and you can buy cheap ones too. You don't have to buy the security systems. You can buy the ones that just run on AA batteries and beep really loud when your door is open. You can get those, I think, at the dollar store, quite honestly. Get a handful of those. It doesn't have to sync up to your cell phone. And again, if you have a nice, really good cell phone and you can't afford it, then you shouldn't have that cell phone.
But the parents had to have known these kids have been in trouble before.
The question is where are the parents? What is their role in this? That's a
huge question in all this. And what led these kids in their lives to be out doing this kind of shit?
Horrible parenting.
Just bump him, bruh. Like, and then they take a video of it and post the video. Thank God they did. I'm glad they did, actually. Implicated themselves. Good. They should all be charged for this. Yeah.
And look, at this age, I mean, people can argue whatever they're young. They didn't realize it's, yes, they fucking did. I'm sorry. I interact. My kid is 12. And she has all different types of friends. Some are kind of on the little slower, not so bright side. Some are on the, wow, you're really intelligent side. But even the little slower, not quite on the bright side, not quite up to the level of everybody else yet. They still know right from wrong, and they still know that this would not be an okay thing to do.
Right.
There is right and wrong there. And if it's in you to do something like this, in reality, to human beings, there is something so missing in you, and I don't care what age you are. If that's not there at 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, it's never going to be. It just isn't. And these people will continue. Missing. I can guarantee if we were to sit here and go, let's do a case study, let's follow these kids. And if they get like a real slap on the wrist penalty and they're out, by 18, I can guarantee you, if we follow them for the next 20, 30 years, there will at least be 1 to 2 more dead people around these people, and they will be alive. Or they will have ended up dying of some tragic thing as well. But they will have at least killed one more person in some way, shape, or form, directly or indirectly, because of their actions or choices. So,
and these kids had done something. I'm not sure. I'd really be interested in these other charges. But they get the anonymous tip about them doing it, and they had already seized their phones from another investigation. What's that all about?
Exactly. So we have a pattern of behavior here.
And so if they've already seized their phones, like there's some shit going down.
Now, the answer is not to give them back to mom and dad, if that's what happened. And if they're in some other custody, clearly that's not working out very well.
It almost seems like the kids needed to be put in some sort of
jail, some sort of like juvenile detention where you can't leave, because these are feral children who are very damaged, and for their own safety and the safety of others, they need to be locked away. And that's inhumane. It's more inhumane to let these kids run out into the world and do what they're going to do. You have damaged children.
Yeah.
You have damaged parents.
Guy's family never going to be the same.
Yeah.
It's just horrific. So. And this story really bothers me in so many different ways. And, an 11-year-old kid should be going to school and kind of having fun with his friends, not doing this shit. 13 years old, 15 years old. It's like, you're not ever going to go anywhere if this is what you're doing at 15.
No.
What are you doing when you're 20?
It's game over for all of them. But yeah, at the end of the day, though, I really like to know more about mom and dad, because I think they're the linchpin to all this.
Yes.
Craving non-stop true crime updates? Press subscribe now and get the latest cases, analysis, and expert commentary delivered straight to your feed. Only from the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today.